Joining us now is John Heinberg, Senior Market Advisor with Stewart Peterson. John, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Robert.
Hey, we will start with the grain markets. How are they looking on this Wednesday morning?
Well, we got some selling pressure stepping back into the corn and wheat markets. This weather forecast are starting to look pretty favorable here for some steadier weather. It's usually going to probably bring some steady to improving crop conditions in those areas that are pretty good. So we got corn markets down about 4 to 5 this morning. Wheat's in the same situation. Beans are holding in there. Some favorable news in terms of the Canadian ratings for the canola crop, which is affecting that oil market. It's given beans a little bit of support. They're basically unchanged so far in the overnight.
Now we're looking pretty good here in the northern hemisphere. How are things looking down in the southern hemisphere?
In terms of, excuse me, my apologies. Overall, focusing on the crop now in the United States here and what we're seeing, we're still looking at that corn belt situation in terms of the east to the west and with the wetness issues that have been dealing on the corn and the bean crop. Still got a lot of time left here in this crop. Conditions are pretty poor, but realistically, weather forecast right now, what's good is good, and maybe some of the stuff that's kind of marginal will get a little bit better. That's kind of ever seen some seasonal pullback right now in these prices, especially after this rally.
And we're in the coming up at the end of July, moving into August. We're still in the middle of a barbecue season. How have the livestock markets been trending?
Well, cattle lately had a bit of a technical fall apart again yesterday. Looked maybe a little bit more downside. Maybe some long liquidation from those funds in terms of their long positions on cattle. Do have cattle and feed numbers coming up again this week on Friday, so I could see a little bit of a bounce going into that, but a little concerned that may continue to see some downtrend even though the supply picture continues to be favorable in terms of price. Hogs, a lot of supply out there, and that competition has been pushing on cattle. But at the same time, maybe the hog market might be set for a little bit of a bounce here after this grind lower again, these past few weeks.
Moving forward in either the grain markets or the livestock markets, what are some key things to look at in the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, mainly focusing on the grains coming weeks. Obviously, we got supply-demand numbers coming up here the first part of August. Going to wait and see if the USDA will start making some yield adjustments given the damage that's done to this crop, obviously on the bean and the corn side. And then we get into September. We're going to be watching that key weather from the end of August into September for the beans when we hit the pod filling stage. Making sure the weather forecasts are staying stable through there. We've got a crop that's already been damaged by wetness. Now, if we get some extreme heat or something in that window, that could even do additional damage. So those are the biggest keys going forward as we start getting closer and closer to that harvest window and seeing what type of crop we have.
That is all the questions I've got. Is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe we didn't talk about?
Well, basically, as we just kind of, this time of year for grain prices, we're not surprised that we're seeing this pullback. Maybe we'll get that corn market to slide down to the $4 level. Really, what we see from talking with producers, we're kind of hoping or looking at another bounce possibly coming. Maybe we get a chance to go back and test those highs, but obviously we're going to need to see those yield data come through, and that's going to be the big key going forward, is what is really out there and what is really coming in terms of bushels this fall. Awesome.
Thanks for your time this morning, John.
Thank you, Robert.
All right, once again, that was John Heinberg, Senior Market Advisor with Stewart Peterson. Stay with us. Coming up after the break, we'll take another look at your weather, and we'll give you a sneak peek at what's coming up next on the Valley Today. Stay with us.